Saw 6 to be one man's journey, and I thought that the best approach to that would be to bring a new character into the series. I love all of our other characters, but we kind of know their story, and I think when Saw works best, it's a person going through a series of life challenges. So that's absolutely William's story. Shawnee Smith seems to be able to just tap into this Amanda character who has nothing to do with what Shawnee's like, but for example, when we were just doing that little scene with her inside the clinic corridor, she began to transform into the drug-crazed, heroin fiend Amanda in the cold sweat and spritz, and once she got there, with her hands curling up, she stayed there even after cut, and we did 4 or 5 takes, and there was very little talking to her because as a director you don't want to say too little because actors need encouragement, but I got the sense that you don't even go there. Like I might have said 1 or 2 words to her and she would shake her head a little bit, but she was vibrating and in the character of somebody going through heroin withdrawal in between takes. It was kind of disturbing, and that's what she brings to the character. I've been involved in these Saw films from the beginning as an editor, and it was my first break as an editor. I'd been an assistant editor for a long time before that, and I certainly didn't think until we'd done a couple of them that there was any chance that I could fulfill that dream of becoming a director. But as I started to see the way our producers operate, they have a kind of loyalty, some call it superstition, that says that they should keep the family as tight as possible. And so once I saw them starting to fish around for a director, which really began after Saw 2, when Darren Bousman had intended to continue on to something else, I started nudging my name forward. I made a short film to kind of demonstrate that I wasn't just an editor. And it took a long time, but finally it was kind of the perfect first film to do. Horror films in general, I think, are very fun cinematically because you get to do a lot of stuff that would be too over the top, cinematically speaking, in pretty much any other genre of film. You can do wide-angle lenses and zooms and over the top contrast in your lighting and big acting style and that sort of thing. And I wouldn't want to only do that kind of film, I suppose, assuming that I get to make another film after this. But it's still very fun to be able to explore cinema language in a really broad sense. I hope I'm taking it, if not to a new level, at least to levels that are as good as the best of the previous Saw movies. Obviously I'd love for it to be the best of all, but it's hard to surprise the audience at this point. But what I do really want is for it to be an emotional journey that the audience will be compelled to follow in its own right as a story, as opposed to what's the next trap going to be.
It's about what's in the box. When we ended Saw 5, there was a box that Jill, Betsy Russell, the actress, got in a will that her husband, John, left. And it's about what's in it and how does it affect the outcome. And it's really, in some weird way, Jigsaw's final game that he's kind of given people to carry out. The Saw franchise would not be where it is, and wouldn't have come as far as it has without Tobin Bell. And, Tobin will get the script, and we're kind of like, we might as well just write, insert Tobin Bell dialogue here, because he's going to write it himself anyway. It doesn't matter what I come up with that we think is pretty good. He's like, well, it's a good try, Mark, but, my character wouldn't do that, and my character, and like, all of a sudden you're like, wow, Tobin, you're right, that is better. So, and then we'll look at a scene like, do we really need to shoot? And we're like, well, Tobin's in it, and then they always end up being, one of the best scenes in the film. Kevin's the wild card. Kevin was the guy who kind of sat in the dark little room, little pale-looking Kevin, because, he's always in a dark room editing. He's edited all 5 of the Saw movies. And he deserved his shot to be a director, and he directed some shorts and some smaller movies, and I was like, all righty. And so, 2 weeks before we're beginning, it's like, geez, I don't know if he's going to be able to do this, I'm getting kind of nervous, and what are we going to do, and what happens if he can't do it? But he stepped up to bat, and I am the best thing I have right now is an option on Kevin Greutert's next movie. How about that? Because I guarantee you everybody in Los Angeles, when they see what he's done with this movie, is going to want his next movie. Every year I look at the movie and we're shooting it, and I look at the traps and I go, wow, how'd we think of this? And then I'm like, I don't know. You know, you're kind of looking around and you're like, who's the sick wacko that came up with this? And you realize, well, I was in the room when we thought of that one. I was there for that one too. And I was like, oh, I had nothing to do with that one, thank God. You know, and they're good. In this, they just, you know, David Hackle, Kevin Greutert, Tony, everybody kind of chips in with ideas and they come out of left field. You know, Darren Bousman will call up with, hey, have you ever thought about this way of killing somebody? You know, and it works. Saw 6 is, I think, a little closer in directorial style to that of what Darren Bousman did. It's a lot, it's a faster paced, quicker movie with a lot more action and more suspense than the last movie. I really liked Saw 5, but I think Saw 5 was executed great and turned out really well. But I think the script, the blueprint that we're starting with for Saw 6 is the best script we've had to date. Because it intertwines a lot of the past, and we have a great story that just will take people kind of along for this ride.
It's been a slow burn for us as far as really building up Hoffman's character. And I think this one, he finally starts getting to flex his muscles a little bit. I mean, he always has, but this one, you really get a better insight into him. You know, you get some great Tobin. Shawnee Smith's back, which is a big fan favorite. And what we always try to do is kind of take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. When I say 1 step back, we kind of fill in and give people tidbits of what's happened and things they maybe what they saw they didn't see, or what they thought they saw, you know. And so we try to always fill in some backstory and how things happened in the past and take some steps forward. Yeah, I think one of the things that fans will really like in Saw 6 is the history of Jill and John. You get to see a little bit about how they got there, and you get to start to learn a little bit more about the relationship, but you also get to learn that maybe everything that she's been letting us know about her is not quite everything we thought we knew. The way that Costas Mandylor playing Detective Hoffman fits in the Saw universe is that he's not Jigsaw. And even though some people think he's going to, you know, take the throne, he's very much his own man. I think the great thing about Saw 6 is you start to see he in some ways is the opposite of Jigsaw. He is the rock of the franchise. I mean, Tobin is the guy. I mean, Tobin's the guy that will actually let work on dialogue. Tobin's the guy who actually comes up with stories. Tobin is a part of, I mean, he is a huge part of Saw. Well, we always try to. I mean, we always try to up the level. We always try to make our traps a little different, a little more, you know, indigenous still to our thinking that, you know, a simple person can make them, but they're ingenious and fantastic. I think we push the envelope pretty good in here.